CPI rate here, it's kind of a steady.
Yeah.
All other towns go along the ground. And the ways and prices goes up, I would say dramatically by comparison. And all we hear about is how much gas and underfoot and this and that and everything are. How come the budget is increasing so rapidly and we're still not attaining our goals?
I can tell you that the budget is increasing rapidly because salaries and benefits are increasing rapidly.
We also, during that, earlier in that time frame, a number of fire stations were open and that made an impact too. So it's been a combination of adding staff and increasing.
So salaries and benefits are increasing rapidly compared to
Well, yeah,
for everybody.
Well, for everybody, but we have contracts with the police and fire union.
Right.
We have contracts with the SEIU, we have contracts, and then, of course, our non-unionized employees,
Get the same benefits.
well, not necessarily the same benefits, but because they all work in different areas and have job responsibilities, they may not fit within fire, police, or, service employees, but you try for your employees to give them a raise every year if you can. Our employees are getting about 1.5% or so a year. It's not much, but it's something. When we were going through very, very tough times, our employees got no raise for several years. So it just kind of depends.
I forget what the other agency we work for, just they got a letter from some of the police and now we were receiving salary increases. They didn't do the work.
the biggest change on the civilian side of that graph is just that we've cut a third of positions. Any other questions?
I had one on page 10 on the police and fire portion of the general fund.
Yes, same graph.
It shows a pretty dramatic increase.
Yes.
Has that translated into more officers on the ground?
Yeah, there's been more, well, a number of years ago, a couple of fire stations were added. And so there was more fire officers, and then we've also, firefighters. We've also added police officers, and then there's also their wages and benefits costs have increased. So it's the two things put together.
Okay.
On the civilian side, the biggest change there is that there are a third less civilian positions than there used to be. And that we've contracted out a lot of services. For example, when maybe it was 6, 8, 7 years ago, when most of the park turf mowing was contracted out, that resulted in pretty significant cost savings.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
Simulator or okay. What I want to know, and I keep harping on land use, urban sprawl, is anybody in the city working with anybody at all on spaces that are available that already have streets, fire hydrants?
Infill development.
Huh?
Infill development.
Oh, infill development, yeah.
But how does it work? I mean, if we can't eliminate sprawl, but if we could contain it a little bit and utilize things like saving the horizon is good, possibly what they're gonna present later is good. But you've already got things in place, the police, fire department, maintenance, you don't have to build new. And wouldn't that help the budget if we could figure out ways to, somebody calls and say, I wanna come to your city, and somebody says, I got a spot for you, it's near 135, it's already got a street, sewer, water.
Yeah, I think,
Are we working towards that goal to?
yeah.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, sure.
So our comprehensive plan focuses very heavily on infill development. When it was drafted, that was the main focus because we know that when this city expanded very rapidly east and west, it caused a strain on maintenance. We can't continue to expand east and west that rapidly. Plus, honestly, our area of zoning influence is getting very shallow now compared to other cities, and we can't move into other cities' areas of zoning influence. And so we have to concentrate more on how are we going to develop inside the city. The problem is is that it's very expensive for people to develop in infill ways. We just, at the council meeting on Tuesday, we just passed the people, oh gosh, help me out. Places for People plan, which also sets forth a plan for us to do more infill development. It sets forth a plan for zoning changes to help and zoning laws to be changed to help us be able to maybe pull back some regulatory things that are keeping people from developing infill. So there's a very big push to develop, but we also let the market develop where it will. So a great example is we don't have a lot of warehouses in the city of Wichita that are big enough to handle a lot of people or a big operation. So a lot of people are going to Park City because Park City has some amazing incentives for businesses to go up there.
And you can build buildings through warehouses.
And they're building huge warehouses for those. We came up with a incentive program on our own to help with that, and some people are taking advantage of it. But it's tough to compete with what Park City is doing, honestly. They're giving big loads of cash, actual cash to companies to locate there. And our citizens, for the most part, have said, we don't want you to continue to give cash to companies to come here, right? Well, so they're going to Park City. You know what? That's okay. Because most people that work in Park City live in Wichita. Regionally, that's wonderful. Park City can do that. Another great example of not having big space inside the city was King of Freight. We had one building that King of Freight could find in all of the city, and that was the old Gander Mountain building, for them to take their 535 jobs that they currently have, put them all in one place. They want to add 400 more, but guess what? They can't expand all 400 in that space that they're in the Gander Mountain building right there. So we suspect that even though they bought that building and they're bringing the jobs downtown and they're expanding, almost doubling size, they're going to have to find another place in Wichita or build a place in Wichita. Where's that going to be? Probably on the fringes somewhere because that's where they're mostly available land.
I know where there's a Kmart for sale.
I do too. The West Mall. Well, you know what? Town West is going to be empty pretty soon, right? So those places will be opportunities, but you know, we're doing the best we can right now. We don't incentivize heavily with cash. We're trying to do it with tax abatements, with those things. But it's a complex problem. But our emphasis right now is exactly what you said. But it's very hard to turn the development tide to do that. Because they expect when they build something, especially if it's on east or west and it's on the greenfield side, they expect the return on their investment to be 10, 11, 12, 15%. Well, if you do an infill project and you're only getting 2 or 3% on your money, investors don't like that, right? You know, it's not very attractive. And so there's a lot of different facets to why we don't. But yes, to answer your question, the answer is yes.
I'm sure the councilman, that correct me if I'm wrong, but say a developer gets a piece of property outside the city, develops a neighborhood, for lack of a better term, a residential project, and then 51% of the residents petition for water and successfully pass that. Guess where the water comes from? And with that is an implicit agreement to be annexed. So now you have expansion.
I'd like to say something positive about the Carolina construction.
Hey,
I
good.
know that might be shocking, but I think they're doing a fantastic job of keeping traffic moving, considering what they're having to do. I think they're making great progress. It looks to me, from what I can tell, they're doing a quality job. I love the results. I'm going to be patient for the results. And I still drive on the flyby purely for the pleasure of driving through downtown without having to stop.
You know, what's interesting, we just took as a council a tour of the East Kellogg work. It is going well. I'm not gonna give you any timelines, but you know what, we're really close, like really close to finishing Kellogg. And, honestly, before that project started, everybody complains how long it took, but before it started, it was 45 minutes to an hour to go from East Wichita to West Wichita or back and forth. Now, it takes 15 minutes. So.
Unless you get caught.
James, at 5 o'clock, I said.
Honestly, if you start, it'll take 15 minutes with no traffic.
That's at 2 a.m. in the morning.
You know what?
Like 15 miles from Kellogg. it's 61
You know what?
miles.
Our average commute in the city of Wichita is 15 minutes. I'm gonna tell you.
That's amazing.
You can't go hardly anywhere else in the country
That's right.
and do that in the city of our south.
I usually run over home this week anywhere else.
Tulsa is horrible. You Tulsa and Oklahoma City, my gosh, horrible. Here, it's amazing. So, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, that's okay. I guess my challenge to you all is to get as many people, to try out the budget simulator yourself, and to get as many people to do that in the next 10 days. And I've got some posters here. If anyone has like community bulletin boards or any places they'd like to hand them out, like posters.
We'll take a few. We'll take a few.
So,
Well,
but that is the story on the budget. So thanks for having me. Yeah.
Got one comment. Where you put on there page 15, you said CPI development. It was page 17, where you told me what CPI stood for.
yeah.
Oh, capital improvement.
I know what it stands for, but
It's on
the people out here, do they understand?
Sorry about that.
No, it's set up on the screen.
It's on the
Your eyes are blasted.
It's set on the screen. It's the capital improvement program in the CIP.
Well, yeah, a lot of people-
On page 17, it started on page 15.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That's what you're talking about.
She did tell us.
That's what I said, page 15.
Could you give a one or two sentence synopsis on what the capital improvement program is intended for and how it differs from other?
So, yeah, the capital improvement program is the 10-year, it's a 10-year program document that guides any capital investments that the city of Wichita will make. So those are large construction infrastructure projects.
Yep.
Good,
Here you go.
very pithy.
Yeah, so I have a few more stories here. So you guys. here
Is
you
this the
go.
last place
Not
you're
bad.
delivering this?
I don't think so.
Oh.
I think I'm about half done.
Some
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it, guys. If you ever have any questions on the budget,
So, here you are.
every adopted budget and proposed budget is online. So you can go, if you have any questions, you can always call me. I'll get the answers for you. Also, I really want to encourage everybody to go and do the budget simulator. We're going to use this budget simulator to help us make decisions on what citizens want to see in the city.
You don't have a computer, go to the new library and do it right there.
You can go to the resource center, you can come to the library, wherever. But I would just please go do this, because the more we get, the more accurate it's going to be. And it also lets you know the decisions that we have to make every year before we get the proposed budget out there. So hard decisions, especially when you start going through it. It was hard. It was just very hard to go through it personally for my own personal decision.
James,
It was a
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I sat here and did my budget simulator and based on what I want to see in this community and submitted it, and it increased my taxes, my property taxes, about $67 a year.
Mhm.
And So I wonder if you have a lot of people that do that based on what they want. How are you all going to determine then?
Are you really gonna raise
Because I'm
taxes?
gonna have that increase. I mean, me, I'd write you my check and say, here's my volunteer donation of $70 to help
They
me.
get great.
No, so, just like our current public input, just like, I mean, I go out to neighborhood associations, I get public input all the time.
Yeah.
And try to base those priorities off of public input. That's no different than this. We have input, we know where a lot of people would like to see things, but we also know that there are a lot of people that do not want any sort of tax increase. As a matter of fact, it's 25 years now, we haven't increased the, mill levy rate in the city of Wichita.
Now that Lama has grown, I have to go and find a way to offset for $65.
So what you have to do.
So-
More development.
That being said, just because we show people, it's just a tool for us. It's just an idea of what people really want. And then if we can find a way to deliver those services without raising taxes, we will. And if we find out that the community really wants us to raise the mill levy or sales tax, then it'll be put on a ballot and you'll get to go to the ballot box and vote on it. And then democracy takes hold at that point, and we do what people say officially.
I recently rode the elevator in City Hall with the guy in charge of all the buildings for the city. I asked him just, as a matter of fact, I said, how many buildings does the CEO have? He said 600. So is anybody looking at that to sell something?
We do. We sell property.
I can't imagine trying to keep 600 buildings.
It does. So you gotta understand, we also have, HUD houses, low income housing as well. And so a lot
Oh,
of.
good, it's raining.
It is raining.
I felt so bad going 4 days.
There must be a squirrel. Okay, no, so those buildings are also housing units that we own as well.
Okay.
So they're not all buildings, public buildings, but we have some housing workers as well that the federal government helps subsidize.
Right, I understand that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jim, you had a question out here.
What is the maximum mill levy that the state allows the city to, what is the maximum
Yeah.
that you can?
Answer that.
She can answer that.
Yeah, I can answer that for you. He just asked what's the maximum mill levy that the state allows a city to levy. So the number of years ago, the state of Kansas passed a property tax lid that applies to cities. The debt service fund is exempt from the property tax lid, so that can be increased. But on the general fund side, there are limitations. Any growth in public safety is exempt from the lid. Any growth related to new construction is exempt from the lid, but any growth related to reappraisal, so that's like if I have an existing house and the appraisal went up, so looking at all the growth in reappraisal, that's limited to a look back of a few years of the CPI of inflation.
Well, I want to talk about that, man.
So,
Now, that can be increased though, above state allowances with a vote.
right, so,
We could put a mill levy increase that goes above what the state says
By county or city?
city,
by city
yeah, and the deadline's July
or
1st.
county.
Yeah, so does that help, I know that's really complicated and like government by committee, but that's generally the
So there's
regulation.
no precise figure.
No, there's not a
Well-
precise figure.
that
Every
the
year,
state is.
no, and
Yeah.
every year we have a big worksheet that we fill out based on our appraisals and CPI, and we fill out a big worksheet, and we usually just, for the last few years, in fact, I got last year's budget book here. I think we disclosed the amount that we were under the tax lid last year. So, and we expect to be under the tax lid this year too. So there is an amount that the city council could raise taxes before they meet get to the tax lid, but that seems relatively unlikely since the last 25 years.
And
We have.
what is that? Do you have that
We
figure?
do not have that for this next year yet because we're still waiting for the assessed valuation from the county.
And what is I noticed that. Now, when is that?
The deadline,
2018, when is that going to be available?
the deadline for them to provide us with that is June 15th.
Huh,
Yeah,
that far.
so we have about a month to put it all together.
You know,
Yes.
So, just to make sure we ain't confusing two issues, which I'm sure I am.
See, the state.
My wife and I and another couple own a small, not very valuable piece of property that we didn't even know was commercially zoned until we went to the closing. And now we find out it's commercial. Big deal. We have not done anything but mow it in 4 years. And our appraisal went up 44%. So I think I just covered her $81. But, you know, to all the other taxing districts that have their finger on it, none of them has to raise their mill levy a bit to get 44% more money from us.
If the appraisal is legitimate,
You can
Yeah,
protest
there's
it.
always but,
I'm retired, I don't have any time.
Well, it's not, I don't think it's hard to protest it.
It's not hard. I think my dad protested his. It went up like 20-30% one year, and he protested it. I think the
I
whoever
did
was
that
the
every
revenue
year
of
with my
deeds,
business.
I think he said, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
It wasn't even hardly a process.
It depends on what all selling in the area and
Right.
what they're getting.
Which is basically
Yeah.
nothing.
what your question, so why would we need to raise taxes if my valuation is
Yeah,
going up?
because it's a stealth tax increase.
Right, so
It's couched as a increase in value. I frankly like to see them sell it for what they've got it valued.
so we actually had a number of years of flat assessed valuation growth, but expenditures were still growing. So that is a difficult situation.
it goes in inverse as well.
Yeah, so.
I remember in 2007.
Oh, yeah, in 2008, property values plummeted.
Probably,
Yeah.
you know,
I
so
understand.
I will tell you though, and then instead of raising the mill levy, the city of Wichita just lived within its means and we cut
Suck it up, yeah.
cut services. So I will say though, when property values go up, that's not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of times when your property values go up, there's a reason why your property values go up. Maybe there's a development next to you and your property is actually worth better. Maybe you made an improvement. Do what?
Maybe Clap Park is redeveloped and suddenly it's more desirable.
Well, our situation, our commercial zone property is an island. I mean, there's nothing commercial around it.
Normally when property values go up, there's some sort of positive economic activity that's going on. If your property values go up wholesale, like everybody. Now, sometimes somebody's property value will go up, you know, and everybody else's kind of stays the same. That's when you protest it. And because sometimes the way the county appraiser does their, and now we're speaking for the county appraiser. But, you know, it just, the way they do their appraisal. So if your property values are slowly creeping up, normally that means there's some sort of positive economic activity going on in there. Something positive. Not always, but, you know, that's what you want to see. That's what you want to find.
James,
Yeah.
I would move that we receive and file a report.
You have a motion to receive and file.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. All right.
You don't like us getting off topic very much, do you?
We like spending time with you.
We have, all right.
First item on the
All right,
agenda.
here we go. We have, PUD 2019-6, still, oh, right in front of me. All right. He's here to, do the Sunday games.
Yes, good evening. My name is Philip Zuckerberg, and I'm the Associate Planner with the Metropolitan Area Planning Department. I've got a couple cases for you tonight. The first one, which is this PUD case I'm presenting on behalf of Kathy Morgan. We often pinch hit for each other. Like we have multiple dams to meet throughout the week. So I had a case here, so I decided to do both of them. The first, this PUD case, which stands for Planned Unit Development, is a rezone of the Joyland property. I'm sure everybody's kind of familiar where that property is located. That property is currently zoned mostly single family with a small piece of general commercial along the hillside. It's requested to be rezoned to planning and development, which is a custom zoning classification that we work with the applicant to do basically custom site work. When what they want to do with the property doesn't fit within our defined zoning classifications, we can work with them on a planning and development to come up with something custom for a particular site to help relax the rules, to help promote development in a very hard area that can actually improve redevelopment or encourage development. Like we talked about infill with Joyland on the site. So the site is 57 plus or minus acres. The park closed in 2001. Most of those rides were sold off. And then a fire unfortunately took care of most of the rest of the building in August of 2018. The applicant and agent aren't here, and the agent is Greg Ferris, who's Ferris Consulting. Some of the questions related to specific things, if you have them, I will probably defer to them. They're looking to do a mix of development on the site, including restaurants, outdoor entertainment, and an event center. There are general provisions attached to your staff report. I'm not going to go through them on an itemized list. If you have specific questions about a single one, we can talk about that in detail. Around the area, as y'all probably know, is mostly residential. The property, as you can even see from this graphic they provided, runs I-135 near the overpass of K-15. The only real cause for concern that the city, that staff, is working with the consultant on what they submitted as part of the proposal is the height and size of the signage that they were looking at. It's a sign plan included. The sign code for the city of Wichita stipulates that no sign can exceed 35 feet in height and 300 square feet in signage area when it's along an arterial or an expressway. So in this case, signs along I-135 here fit within that sign code of not being any higher than 35 feet. One caveat to that sign code though is if there's an overpass, say you're at Kellogg and Ike Parkway to the airport, high flyover, there's commercial businesses there, you can see that sign code taller than 35 feet, is there's a stipulation that says you can be a certain distance above the highest point elevation to get that visibility that you're looking at. When the analysis was done on this site, they determined that the 55-foot height requested of these signs was based on the overpass, highest part of the overpass when I-135 goes over K-15. When Kathy did the analysis, she determined that based on where those 55-foot high signs would be located on this northern portion of the site, where they're located, the visibility of those signs cannot even be read by motorists going 60 miles an hour from that high point on the interstate anyway. So we're looking at meeting them in the middle of allowing them to be a 45-foot sign instead of a 35-foot. So we're requesting and recommending to the planning commission that those sign heights be reduced to 45 feet based on their distance away from that high point, knowing where they're really fronting the interstate is when the interstate is actually at grade, and there's actually no overpass there. So that kind of takes care of some of the nitty-gritty of this. So overall, the planning department is recommending approval of this with some of those revisions to the provisions of the PUD. Overall, the uses that will be allowed on this site, you can see images here. There's 3 parcels. There's parcel 1, parcel 2, and parcel 3. All of them basically say the same thing of all uses allowed in general commercial. And then we provide some exceptions, meaning we're not going to allow certain businesses or certain uses, like in different pages here. And that's generally related to like auditoriums, sexually oriented business, stuff like that. Stadium, cemetery, aquarium, some bigger things that would be allowed in general commercial, we're not going to allow those. And that's kind of where we get that custom zoning classification. We also are working with the applicant on certain setback requirements and stuff like that. I'm not going to worry about all those details. So with that, I can say for the staff questions, like I said, the applicant and agent are here to speak on behalf of this case if you have any specific development questions.
Before we get going, does the applicant have anything that they'd like to say right now, or you want to make a question?
I'll just let you guys extend the presentation.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Ferris here, he is the applicant's agent, and the applicants are also here as well, so. And they are thanked, yeah, for being here. Bruce?
I am thrilled that anybody wants to do anything with this. Personally. Very
Here,
happy
here.
about that.
Here, here.
57 acres. That's huge. Is any of this going to affect the creek?
No, that's part of the reason why we were looking for a PUD and looking at the applicant is the majority of where that creek runs through is a floodway. And so much of the development, even with what Joyland had, kind of stays fairly, because it is a long way.
Will any of this affect the school across the street there?
Most likely not. These are all the existing things, and I can let the agent talk as to where they were designating some of the activities and some of the uses. Being across also, and given the nature of what they're intending to do, it should not have any detrimental effects on the school.
No big signs blocking the,
All the signs for this will be on the property, which end fairly close to fossil and not necessarily protected.
no dancing girls across the street?
So that will.
No dancing girls across the street?
No, no. That's exactly why
Are you disappointed?
Sorry,
Ron. Are you
Not this time.
No, I just want to make sure that we have,
Well, that's where we're not allowing that to have any use to
I think we have a city ordinance where it says you can't have one within so many feet of a school.
Right, we're just prohibiting the use altogether, so.
Huh?
Or near an aquarium.
Yeah.
That was stupid, but that's all it's in.
I was in the line.
It's probably Wikipedia.
Oh my God.
Place for Terry
Now you're
Nations.
barred.
Our talk is.
It was about 40 feet or whatever. About 40 feet.
With the three parcels that are going to be developed, would there only be one entrance to get to the other one, or are they going to be
No,
asking?
so you have the private drive, which turns into Wausau, that's off the hillside. They're allowing a drive entrance near Range Road right here. There's some other contingency drive entrance, and I think those are going to be for like emergency access, and Mr. Harris can talk a little bit more about that if he knows. I do know in the stipulations of the PUD, they are allowing one auxiliary access off of Conmore Street down here to get to parcel 3.
Well, but if you have three parcels and you're developing three different things, that could be quite a bottleneck. Couldn't get in from the south or to the
Like I
west.
said, for the south, they're allowing one entrance off of Conmore to get down to parcel 3 here. And then there's access to the site on the east with Hillside, as well as one access off the north here. So plus there'll be entrance.
So are they looking ahead, and if they have so much activity, are they planning on?
I read, I was
I have now the signs, the total number, and then where are they located again? Are they all along the interstate? Is that the purpose of it?
I've got a small graphic here of our amended, and I will start with you since you asked the question.
The sign plan is here, and the majority of them are along the interstate to advertise the uses that are going to be on the site. There are also going to be some signage along Hillside.
So these are the bigger ones, and then these are the smaller ones.
Not necessarily bigger or smaller. They determine whether they're off-site or on-site signs. Off-site meaning if you have a use on parcel 3 and they're advertising it somewhere else, but it's all within Joyline. Yeah, those are small condensed versions. But the majority of them will be along the interstate, and there'll be also some signage on Hillside at that main entrance.
So we're gonna have sidewalk all the way down, also, they're gonna put sidewalk all down.
I'm not aware of that, just because most of.
So, guys, we can't hear down here. You guys copy down here.
It's no.
Okay, anything you guys wanted to add? So
They're working it out.
No, we were just having a discussion about how, and it's past, but how Joyland was ever operated on property that was owned.
Right. Well, grandfather.
Yeah, they were non-conforming.
Yeah, I guess they were.
Oh, yeah, it was grandfather.
Yeah, that's a lot of people this would be.
I understand that, you're right. The question on, the signage is oriented towards northbound, that's correct.
Anybody else?
I just like our new addition south of 235 there, it seems to be going really good. I just wanted a warm fuzzy feeling about landscaping and, you know, that we're up in the quality of the place, and I think we're, yeah, that's always nice. Okay.
Yeah, it's good around all of this.
Do the plans include cleaning up everything that's there? I mean, I would think so.
Falling down, burnt, well, that's a small.
First of all, oh, go ahead.
I'm confused about the signage. I thought either the state highway department or the federal regulations
Laser laws.
had something to do with the signage that close to federal highways.
I can help you with that.
I'm not.
That goes back to laser laws.
I thought they regulated that.
They do, and I'll explain that.
Okay.
You didn't have to pay.
Yeah, I know.
Nice to see you.
You said something about that.
Thank you very much. My name's Greg Ferris. I've been working with Greg Logan, is our engineer, to get into some specifics that you may have questions that you might need to answer. We concur with just about everything in the city's recommendation. I'm going to go, if you want, I can just not say anything about what we're going to do there, but I kind of think there's enough interest. To give you an idea, with the size of this parcel and the 1,000-foot notification, 469 people were notified. Biggest notice area I've ever been involved with. We had a very good meeting last night with the K-15 neighborhood, which is this neighborhood. So we were able to get some of their input and their questions. And so we shared with them some of the things that we want to do. What Greg really wants to do is a couple of things. First of all, this property here is already platted. This is the only piece that's platted, and that's parcel 1. So this could be developed right away. And so you asked about landscaping. Yes, landscaping is required. Setbacks are required, just like you would see in any kind of development. And those are included, particularly away from residential. So you could see strip center coming in here, some restaurants, those kind of things. Because it's already platted, we could build a building. If any permanent structures are done on any of this, it will have to be platted. So if there was going to be a development where we had a full building permit, there would be platting required. And at that platting time, we would be required to submit a drainage plan, and the city's engineers would go through that. So as far as the creek is concerned, we don't believe that anything we're going to do right now is going to have an impact on that. And at some point, if we were going to do construction, then we would have to show, and Logan would be involved in mitigating, showing how that was going to work. So from a drainage standpoint, I don't think there's going to be any issue. Greg is in the business that he rents large tents and those kind of things. He also has a firewood business. There is this existing building here. This building, as long as it's not, as long as 50% of the value is not increased, that he could use this building. He can go in there and remodel some bathrooms in and do some things like that. And so he's kind of thinking about moving one of his businesses in here kind of initially. And by doing that, I think everybody that knows anything about this property is concerned a little bit about the vagrants and some of the comings and goings that are going on there. Once a business starts in there, then you have a lot less problems. The other thing back here, he sees the opportunity for weddings. You bring a tent in instead of a permanent structure. There are some floodplain issues here, so permanent structures will not be done on a lot of the ground. So he can do some tents and some tent structures and have some really big, some really nice things now. You can do that, and so we would be allowed to do those.
Like an outdoor venue.
Exactly. I'm sorry, ma'am. This is all from everything you see is on the single family. So the only thing that could have been done on any of this right now is build houses. And most of one. Yes. And that's why normally you would go in and you'd fill this all LC or GC or do something like that. Well, GC And even LC has some uses that you probably don't want, like group homes. Nobody wants group homes. If we zone this LC, we can do group homes by right. But since we're doing a PUD, we've eliminated group homes. So by doing a planned unit development, you say you have this overline, but we throw out all these other activities, and I mentioned those last night, sexual orientation, group homes, asphalt plants, stone yards, all of those things are gone. They're not going to be done here. We've eliminated those uses. So those are kind of the things that's the reason we're doing this as a planned unit development rather than just a total rezone. So we also see Greg wants to do like bring back KPI days, where you can have a couple-week carnival here, and you can have some of those things, kind of relive some of the fun and the excitement that Joyland used to bring. You're never going to have a permanent amusement park here, but he thinks that some of those types of activities are what he envisions happening back here. We are, and there's a couple reasons. One is cost, the other is drainage. The city's allowing us to do gravel parking lots initially, unless there's a permanent structure constructed. And that can alleviate some of the concerns of runoff and some of those things as well as cost. But asphalt, most of you know, they have to be a certain kind of asphalt, no dust, those kind of things. So that's all. The only areas that we disagree with staff are in the signage areas and one access issue, and I'll go into that real quick. Along this highway here, you're right that there is state regulations. The state regulations are the signs, if you have digital signs, they have to be 1,000 feet apart. Okay, other than that, the only regulations they have is that you have to follow the city regulations. Okay. So the city regulations are much stricter than the state regulations. City regulations require that they're 360 feet apart. Now I could come in here in PUD and I could waive those city restrictions, but I can't waive the state restrictions. So if we were going to do any digital signs along here, they have to be 1,000 feet apart for an off-site sign. Now there's two kinds of signs. There's an on-site sign. So let's say that he has his fireworks business, or he has his tent business, or whatever business he has here, and he wants to have a sign here to advertise that business, and only that business because it's on his property. That's an on-site sign. An off-site sign is what you're used to seeing billboards. And Phil's correct that an on-site sign can't be more than 300 square feet. Off-site signs, however, are allowed to be 642 square feet, which is what we're asking the staff to read that. They have no problem with that. Off-site. Billboards are, we call them off-site. I'm saying billboard, and then everybody knows what I'm talking about. Billboard is an off-site sign. An on-site sign is what you used to see for advertising.
That'd be a revenue gathering type sign.
Yes, and obviously, just to give you an idea, what tell me, 3,000, how much was it? $4,000 or $5,000. Our filing fee was over $3,000. I don't work for free, so he's got a significant amount of money invested in PUD. The one thing about PUD is you don't go in and just make a change and say, well, I want to add a sign. Can't do it. You'd have to spend all of that money again to add a sign. Or let's say the city wants a 45-foot. Just so you know, right here, this bridge here is 29 feet. So technically, I should be able to go to 49 feet anyway, and we asked for 55. I do signs. I work with companies that do signs. The way it works is they determine what they need in height, and they may need 53 feet. They may need 47 feet. Greg doesn't know that, I don't know that, and I promise you Captain Morgan doesn't know that if I don't know it, because I do it all the time. So we don't want to have our hands tied over 6 feet, because I would be allowed to do an administrative adjustment to go 20 feet, but I can't do it on PUD. So I'm asking for that now, and I hope you'll allow us to do 55-foot off-site signs. They may not be that tall, but if Ashby looks does their drive test, and they need 55 feet, we don't want them to say, no, we're not gonna take that location because you're only allowed 45 feet, and that affects our visibility. Ashby's not gonna build 55 feet if 45 is enough, because it adds significant cost to go up that extra 10 feet. It isn't incremental, I mean, it is multiplicity when you go up that high. So nobody's going to build the sign any taller than they need, but we don't want to have to come back through a process like this to get an extra 6 feet of sign so that Ashby would be satisfied with that location. So we would ask you as a DAB to recommend that we allow our off-site signs at 55 feet. We're asking for the right, and I told Greg it's probably not going to happen, because if I have somebody that wants this location right here, which is the prime location, they're going to restrict any other signs along there. Okay, they're not going to allow Greg to lease the sign to another sign company. They're going to want the right to build that sign. So he would like the opportunity, and we've done a setback from this area here. And we think that maybe there's a possibility for a static on-site sign here, another digital sign here, and a sign here. So we would like the right to build 3 signs. Staff is recommending 2. And again, the marketplace will determine that. And I don't think that that's good. So the area that we're asking you to disagree with staff's recommendation is that we would like 3 off-site signs with a maximum height of 55 feet. We're okay with the on-site sign of 45 feet. We'd like the off-site sign flexibility if that's what Ashby wants, or Lamar, or whoever else comes to that location. We'd like them without having to go through the process of changing the PUD. The other thing is the internal signage. You know, he's got an event going on here. He'd like to be able to put up some internal signs. The way the sign code is written, you can't do that because signage is all based on frontage. We don't disagree with any of staff's recommendations on the frontage on the side, and that's going to be the most visible. So what we've asked, we wanted the ability to do 12 signs in here and 6 signs in here that just kind of wayfair and show people where to go and what to do. They're limited in size, they're limited in height. We've all agreed with staff on those things, but what we disagree is the number. And we're okay, we asked for 12, they said 6, we're okay with 8 on here. And we asked for 6, they want 3, we're okay with 4 here. So we would like for you to have that. One of the things we're going to do down here, it's kind of in the works and people are talking about, is a paintball course, for example. There's trees and wooded. He's already met with the sheriff department. They're excited about the opportunity to having some place to train in the woods, you know, where it's more than just, you know, open area, because that's not where every place they go. So we think this has some potential to do that, but we may need some signage in there. And again, if it's not in the PUD, I can't do it. The last thing is that we want the flexibility to be able to move the sign from here to here, from here to here. In our request, we said if any sign is along a public right-of-way, staff has to approve that sign. Staff took out that provision and said they have to approve every location. So we would like that put back in so that we have the flexibility to move that sign around without having to run the demo or whoever the next planning director is and say, hey, we need to find move from here to here. We just don't think that makes sense. Now, anything along here, yes, they'll shoot. I mean, that's public right of way. People see that. But this, everything else is internal. We don't think that that should have to be that way. So those are the signage issues we have. I got them all, didn't I?
Yeah, you might say parcel 2 of that, currently just has 1 sign, like 2.
Right, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. So 3 total.
And then 2 off from west.
I'm off side.
Then what we have,
We have 2 offside out.
2 off.
I misunderstood. But I knew you needed 2 on 2. The other issue, and this came up last night in the meeting, and I'd like to bring that forward because we disagreed with staff and we acquiesced to them to consider there's no way they could. Neighbors were concerned last night that with this type of an exit, you had a big event, you may have a bottleneck, people may start thinking about coming back to the neighborhood. We had asked for 3 access points, and we don't have any problem making this one light only. We think that 3 access helps the neighbors, helps the project, and really is a better idea than just the 2 that they're allowing. So we would like for you to consider also recommending, this really didn't come from us. We had already said, okay, staff, I'm arguing about that, even though we thought it was a good idea, but the neighbors brought that up yesterday. And that was their primary concern. I don't remember, was there any other thing that was the main concern last night? Right? The access, the extra access. Well, this one right here. Yeah, it will be open. Yes, there is an access point there. Yes, there is an access point. But we don't want any of the primary access points to be in the neighborhood. Our goal is to take everything out to this side.
Yes, you
guys have been in here a long time. I went over there really quick, so now I'll be glad to answer your questions.
A question for our planner. Why do we care how many interior signs that they have at home? We're limiting them, I'd like to know why we would limit them.
Right, that's how the code is written.
That's what?
Just how the code is, just because.
To be honest, I don't know the justification behind it, I just know that that's the city.
Okay.
Where, and it's not where it is, it's just that the code is written that we have this location in the signs.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's true we agree with that on the right.
Yes,
We agree with that. Yeah. And the problem is, when I met with JR, the sign guy, I said, JR, I understand the number issue along right away, but can we put internal signage? He said, no, our code doesn't have any provisions for that. And since there's no provisions for it, that's the whole point of the PUD, is to write things that aren't in the code. And that's why
Let me ask a question. Is it, we're having this issue because this is such a large piece of property?
Yes, absolutely.
Normally on a smaller piece of property, the code.
Normally, you just have the frontage and, that's it. You're not gonna have back signs.
Yes.
But when you go this deep and back, that's what, yes, that's what.
Off-site sign, that means once that person is established, all the distance requirements from static to LED meet the distance requirements required to get for on that full stretch. So it's not like we're trying to fudge you the distance. But
My concern is traffic, that if you have even 3 outlets on the home side, when you go to the 31st, you have to turn left. When you go to I-8, you have no turn signal. So you're going to have maybe traffic problems either way. If you have like a rodeo or something that lets out all at one time.
Right.
There's your flow, what you get to a group like this. People are gonna look for another way, and if you have one back here on Lawson, there's only one way down past the school into the subdivision. You come into the subdivision and then you have a turn to get on the party. And if you have 3 school buses, which I've been behind, trying to get on to China and Holly, it's a school there now. You have major problems.
And we suggested that perhaps James would want to have some signage along here, no outlet, some of those kind of things. That would have to be on the city because that's on your property. We can't put the signs on your property. So those were some of the things I think would help that. We can't, we've got to be able to have some access to Wausau, obviously be able to service this. Now, we are going to close off 2 of these gates. So we thought, what we did think was important, to be able to have some access back here, if nothing else for security and those kind of things. The other thing is, in the PUD, if we have more than 40 people on site, we have to have security. So if there's an event that's more than 40 people, we'll have security. And that will help in directing traffic and making sure those things, because we can have the security out here moving traffic and, like they do on Sunday mornings, some preachers and so forth. So that's in the PUD. We don't have a choice. If we have a 40-person event, security has to be provided.
And all the flow off of the property will go through parcel 1
Correct.
and a second driveway with tremendous effect on the hillside.
How much weight do we actually carry to the planning commission if we?
No, we can, your recommendation carries weight with the city council, which will make a final decision on that.
And I'll be honest with you. I think that the planning, I think the planning commission likes to know what the DAB is thinking. And if the DAB, agree, particularly if they agree with the developer, and on small items like this, I think they would take that into consideration.
My concern is, I'm sorry, Gary.
No, go ahead.
I'm not sure I understand everything that you expressed.
I agree.
So I just don't want to make a decision based on, I'm not sure what I'm basing it on. So I understand what you want, because you want the business to succeed, but also, if we have codes in place.
But, for example, I'll give you an example. I've done 3 PUDs along Kellogg. And one sign was 50 foot, which is higher than they're asking. 2 of them were 65 center. So we did a PUD there just exclusively to get that sign. Kia, we did 2 60-foot signs there. And that's what a PUD is for, is to be able to say, this is a unique situation. We're going to write it apart from the code. So it doesn't really matter what the code says.
You're trying to get everything in place at once, so you don't have to keep going back.
To come back and do this process again, it's so, just a filing fee alone, because of the size of the property, it's humongous.
Jared had his hand up.
Have there been have you or the applicants done any sort of research on how many people they expect at any sort of, what kind of maximum amount of people do you expect at any sort of event you might hold there? Like if you have a wedding there, there are gonna be 1,000 people there at one time?
Weddings, wedding venues, those kind of things, you're talking 300 to 400 people max.
Right.
Now, if you did KFDI days here,
Right,
it's an
that's-
all-day event, you might have 4,000 or 5,000 people, but they're not all coming and going at the same time. So if you're having a wedding, they're more than likely meeting at the same time, but you're looking at 400 people. I mean, that's a huge wedding, 400 people. Right. Normally, you'd be looking somewhere around 200 to 250 for a wedding or those type of events that go to event centers.
And these events, these bigger events will be restricted a certain time of the year. It wouldn't be every day out there. We have 1,000 people. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, he wants to do like car shows and maybe possible rodeos, weddings, chili cook-off. I mean, he's in the party business. He has good connections. That's kind of
There is sound, we're bound by the San City sound and light ordinances. So lights can't shine into the neighborhood, noise can't leave the property. So we are bound by those things.
That's part of my question, that's not the, buffers on the landscape.
Absolutely, we're required to have landscaping wherever there is residential.
Secondly, your shaded over on parcel, is that like next to it? Yes.
It's right here.
Yes.
Well, I guess that's I've knocked it over 4 times last night.
Denied.
You know, it's not my fault, there's no up on the end. It's your fault.
Yes, okay. These internal signs, for lack of a better term, movable. By movable, you mean they're like on a tripod or something?
Well, they may be on a pole. I mean, he may have that pole sign there for a year.
Okay.
But he wants
Size limits or
Yes.
projections on those are?
Absolutely, they are limited to 200 square feet.
So basically 10 by 20 or something like that.
And they're limited in height.
All right.
We need to go more than 20 feet, which is less than the sign ordinance allows. So, we've already given, because those are internal, you don't need a 30-foot sign internally.
And then secondly, when you say off-site signs, that means basically that they're going to lease a pole space so that they'll be able to, but the pole will be on their property, so they'll be advertising this other way around.
Right.
Okay. Now, can you buy and add on one face of those signs?
He can't. No, city code
Will
doesn't
not
allow
be
that,
able to.
and we did not write in PUD that they'd be allowed to do that.
All right, sign okay.
Only
James?
one in town that's allowed to do that. That's it.
Yeah, Greg,
But
I,
these billboards out on the west side of the property,
East side, yeah. On his property, he can advertise his own business. That's a good one. That's the only one. He did that when the city took.
there's a big LED on the west side of the property, owned by.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Now,
I thought you
use
said
that
on the west side
now.
of town. Okay.
yeah, Greg, I rented an off-site sign about 10 years ago. It was around $600 a month to rent that sign. And so these signs are, I think, real important as far as a revenue source for the development. Is that not correct?
Absolutely. I mean, especially initially, I mean, he's got tens of thousands of dollars invested in just cleanup.
Oh, you're talking about that.
He's spending a lot of money, and it would be nice if he could get some revenue while he's doing all that.
I'll guarantee you, my cleanup at that place, that month is gonna be $3,000 to
Well,
$4,000.
just get rid of the roller coasters, like most people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'll come to you.
On the 40 people, then private security, how many people do you have at 100? How many security people do you have at 100 or 200? Is
I
it?
think the city has regulations.
The city does have regulations on
It's
that.
like after so many, they have to add. I don't know what that is.
I don't have the numbers exactly. but I
We
know
had,
So you've got three entrances to this thing. You have currently
I'm sorry.
you have three entrances?
Two.
Okay, two. So you'll have security at each entrance to direct traffic?
Yeah, we'll make that a deal where pertaining to the size of the event and the number of cars and things like that, that we recommend. If you're a car event or space is rented to outside companies comes in and looks safe for a big event.
And I presume when it says
Everything provided in direct.
private security, that's anybody in town that's licensed to be a security.
our wedding, 5 years ago at our wedding, we were planning for 200 and they made us have 3 security guards.
Yeah.
Sounds probably about right.
Yeah.
At $40
I
an
just
hour
wanna
for
be-
3 of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I just want to make sure that we have enough security out there.
I've got a few concerns. Number one, I'm not crazy about the 4 signs being along at the bottleneck right there that we already have, because they're gonna be doing this while they're trying to come on the 135 off of K-15 and trying to merge in and get off at Pawnee. Not crazy about the 4 signs being in there. The littler signs inside, I don't have a problem with that. I do think there ought to be sidewalks put in if you're gonna run business in there, then wherever that hard business, that one parcel. They make me put sidewalks in, if I'm gonna build a house, there ought to be a sidewalk and bring it up to code with that. The other thing that I've got is the noise level on the KFDI days. Part of the reason they shut Joyland down was because it was making noise at night. And there's a lot of residential around there. And so I think there needs to be a cap, 10 or 11 o'clock, it's shut off, period.
Says here,
We do have time limits.
it's in the proposal, Richard.
And we do have noise requirements that you can't have noise louder than a certain level. And that's through the day, not just night.
But my biggest thing is the signage along the highway.
And just so you know, on property this long, if that was zoned general commercial, you could put 4 signs there tomorrow. Without, we weren't doing that.
How many signs are there on that basic thing from their southernmost point to 31st Street?
I don't believe there are any between the mile, you go by the mile from the.
Oh, I understand, it's not on 31st Street.
Well, that's what how they measured that.
I understand, I'm just asking, what's the density of 31st Street
I don't think
there?
there's
There's not a lot.
any signs.
In my,
they are, they're abandoned businesses. run down there.
I just saw it.
You're talking about offsite or onsite?
I guess I have to go look and see.
See, there's a difference.
Yeah, that's valid point, thank you.
So, and there's one thing I wanna add. Many times we've been snookered. I'm not saying this is it, but we gotta look hard at what they're wanting to do versus just jumping
And,
in.
you know, I think that's a real important point. Here's where that goes. You've been snookered by people that didn't pay several $100,000 to buy the property.
Agreed.
And have spent thousands of dollars to start cleaning it up, which you've been doing, and have spent thousands of dollars to get through this process. So, you know, you already, and there are lots of restrictions in this. I mean, there are lots of restrictions that tell you what you can and can't do. That's what a PUD does. So I think that, very good point, it almost speaks in favor of what we're trying to do because of that very reason.
If the PDU states that you can have some residential, which means that you live in that part where you didn't do it all one time. You could put a number of apartment complexes with only one street going to north side.
Well, if this was residential, then we don't care if they're using the residential street to access residential. So if this was ended up, and one of the things that's being allowed, that is allowed in general commercial, and we're keeping that, is that this could be used as residential. It's not his immediate plan. He doesn't have that in his plan, but it's not impossible. But if this developed as residential, then using a residential street would not be a bad thing.
Even if there was only one residential street.
Right.
You see
And,
where
you know, it's always possible
You see where it's
that if you were going to develop all this, and it wouldn't be great developing it, if they developed it, knew what they were doing as far as residential. There's a, oh, it's great. There's a property here that might be bought that takes Second Street out. I mean, there are lots of different alternatives. Yes, if it was going to be residential.
The big complaint, I'm going back to the noise, 11 o'clock through the weekdays, midnight on Thursday. I have a problem with that because most people have to go to work on Friday. I know what the noise level does to my sleep and I get drunk.
But that's code already.
Right.
Well, I don't know if there is an actual code on what the hours of
But
operation.
we,
But the code is on what the noise can be.
right, I thought it,
You're not allowed to have, by code, the noise level here cannot exceed what is there now.
Right.
The ambient noise, so, you know, you have some noise because you have semis and you have other things. So whatever's here now, that's what's allowed. And they'll go out there, you call the city, they'll go out there with sound meters and they'll shut him down. I mean, it's that simple, I've seen it done. So you have this, that's where the protection lies, in that we have agreed to the city's sound regulations.
Okay, well, I repeat, I am extremely thrilled that anybody is interested in this property. On the basis of that, I am motioning that we accept the planning's recommendation with the exception that we allow the signage changes that they have requested. That's my motion.
Second,
Hold on a sec.
And for all the signage that they requested, quantity, title, all right.
Okay, this refers to.
And excuse me, I'm not done talking yet.
I've already seconded.
The reason I do that is to help encourage this business developing this way economically. That's my motion.
if you want to address the driveway.
No, okay, I think the planner's got that.
Okay.
I don't think he's gonna end up with thousands of people. Maybe he will. Maybe I'll go help direct traffic.
Paul second. So we have a motion and second.
Ron seconded.
Is that motion?
You don't, I mean, I would suggest, I don't want to make a substitute motion, but I would encourage you to think about attendance there. I would
The
encourage
way
you.
you would handle that, with Robert's rules of orders, you deal with my motion, it fails.
Well,
then
I
you
don't
reject
want,
another motion.
I don't want to make a substitute motion, but I would encourage you to amend your motion to, I mean, I
And
can
what would
make
I, if I was to do that, what would I say?
I
Force
think,
him to make a
Speak up.
4-lane highway?
Speak up a little bit.
I think there needs to be some limits on attendance there. I mean, if we don't include, limiting attendance to 2,000 people or something, then yes, you could have 5 or 6 or 7 in theory.
I
You
hear
could
you.
have, and I don't think that
I
no
hear you.
matter
Let me
what.
speak to that.
Okay.
The city of Wichita is chronic for not having entrance and egress. That's the way we operate. If this guy has that kind of business, we'll help him out.
And I agree with
I
you.
want
I
him
mean,
to have that business.
I want to see 2,000 people there. I want to see the guy succeed. I'm totally,
He'd be the first one begging the city
yeah,
to help,
right.
probably.
You know, I'm
So,
happy to see
I hear
this
you, but
going
I'm
on.
gonna let my motion stand.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. We've had some discussion. Any further discussion? Got one.
Is there concern when we talk about this about the neighbors, the people that live in there? I mean, I guess K-15 had a meeting and they discussed it and they heard about this and they.
Are they aware of
Neighborhood
this meeting?
Association meeting.
Yeah.
Are they here at
We
this
have
meeting?
some.
We do have 4 or 5.
Like another driveway on the hillside.
We'd like another driveway on the hillside.
And just again, to remind you, we sent out 469 letters that the city sent them that noticed tonight's meeting and tomorrow's meeting. K-15 group, they noticed their own people. And we had a lot more people from the neighborhood there last night than we do here today. Part of it probably because we saw whatever. But we had a very good discussion last night. People were, you guys were just wonderful to work with. But if there was this huge outcrying concern, I think you've been getting a lot of calls.
Yeah.
I think of people, because they got a notice of what it was. And so anybody within 1,000 feet of this point, this point, this point, the whole parcel got notice, 469 of them.
How would they know? How would they know?
The city sent them a letter.
By mail.
So I'm gonna.
So can I just say, finish my, I would say that I would have to agree with Mr. Cerullo in the concerns for the number of people that can go. I think it's great if they do get that amount of people, but I don't know if people are always cognizant of that when they're talking about
I
something.
don't
You get
know how
excited.
the city can
You
limit.
get excited- Hold on a second. You get excited when something is being developed, that's true, but if there's no kind of planning for 5,000 people, then you got a whole lot of pissed off people in K-15, right?
Well,
Guaranteed.
first of all, Ron, I don't know logistically how you say, I mean, when you get to 2,000, you count them as they come in and you say, okay, nobody else can come in.
Right.
So logistically, the city has never done what you're asking to do. They've never done that anywhere that I know of, I've never heard of, and I've been around for 40 years.
Only inside the building.
Inside
Right,
buildings,
Fire, fire.
yes, inside, yes, but as far as trying to limit something, you know, and it may be, if you have, well, how would you do it? If you got a paintball activity going down here, that really doesn't have anything to do with what's up here, totally different timing now, does that count? It's just
Right.
logistically, it's not going to work. What you do is you limit the uses, and we've done that quite a bit to things that aren't, other than like the KPI days and those things. And you know what, I don't live there, but kind of listening to some of the things that I heard last night, if a couple times a year, 5,000 or 6,000 people came into this area, you know, and we're getting gas and seeing, you know, and they see that vibrancy. I got the idea that they thought that was kind of a neat deal last night, to see something like that happening. You're not gonna have that many people that often. But if it happens every so often and you got a little bit of traffic bottleneck, you have traffic when they leave Intrust, you have traffic when they leave basketball games at WSU. So you have those that you have to deal with. It isn't gonna be a common occurrence, because if you have 300 people at a wedding, it's not hard to get out 300 people.
Okay, so we have brought discussion back up here, kind of allowed it to go back out, but we brought discussion back up here. we will continue the discussion with the district advisory board. We have a motion and a second on the floor.
I just want to make sure, are you planning any cell phone towers out there?
Actually, they're allowed, but I think there's already a couple of them there, so.
There are, and I would request you stop talking.
First time ever. I don't get discrimination.
Okay, no, if you were saying it, I'd ask that you stop talking. Cindy knows that. But no,
Concerning the number of people, I really don't think it's the city's business to limit the success.
I agree with that.
So, you know,
Are we gonna limit the number of horses we can have in the rodeo?
well, we have a motion and a second on the floor.
I think I ought to call to a question.
Question.
I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No,
well,
Do we have an abstention?
I
of course.
Do we have an abstention?
Well, Michael, what was your vote?
Abstain,
Why are you abstaining?
It's chicken.
because I'm not sure.
I
You
have to
can't-
count that as
You
a,
have to give a yes or no. You can't abstain.
No, he can abstain with council, yes.
I like to drive by the area now that I know what's going on and see what it looks like.
You're a failure to
That's a
vote,
week
yes,
ago.
yes.
So one abstention, one no.
Other-
Motion carries. All right.
Can we now have a motion on the number of driveways?
We have got to move on.
Thank you, Mr. Businessman.
Thank you, and I commend you guys for taking this on, and I wish you the best of luck. I thank you for what you're doing down there.
I wanna know what the rodeo is.
All right, guys, we need to move
Yeah,
on.
we got a basketball game going.
We have conditional use, 2019-16, zoning case 2019-16. Go ahead.
So, this is a much simpler case. It's I'm not sure the applicant or agent is here to talk about it as well, but
Yeah, I'm here.
So it's,
Everybody's dropping the subject.
it's a request to rezone a very small strip of land on a property located near Hillside and 31st Street. The property actually has two zoning classifications on it. The rear of the property is only commercial, in front of the property is general office. We're requesting to rezone that small strip on the frontage of Hillside to be commercial with the additional request of a conditional use to allow vehicle sales on the property. The property currently has a grandfathered in residential use on the rear of the property, and it functions as a commercial use for vehicle repair in the majority of the rest of the building. We're really looking at being able to sell some of the vehicles that potentially are abandoned or otherwise they come across. They're limiting it to 5 display vehicles. And the only thing that we brought into discussion with them is we worked with Mr. Bears on the parking requirement, which is 15, through the analysis that we found out. Considering the 4 stalls inside of the maintenance garage, they actually can accommodate 16, so they're good on parking. Really what we're using as a guiding light for this is about 500 feet north of the property, there is a vehicle repair shop that also has a conditional use for vehicle sales. So we use that conditional use as kind of a blueprint for what to do here. Generally speaking, that means we're going to limit this conditional use as long as this property functions as a maintenance garage. Should it ever change hands and the use change, this conditional use goes away. Limiting the number of vehicle displays, they submitted they only want to submit 5 or an agreement about. We're going to limit the display vehicles to 5 at any given time. Prohibiting the outdoor storage of salvage vehicles or those waiting for repair, as well as the screening of outdoor storage for parts that are associated with the vehicle repair. So you're not going to see gigantic mountains of tires on this property.
Or,
Other parts used for vehicle
and
repair.
who polices this?
The zoning enforcement office, which can be contacted should a neighbor or anyone driving by think that they're in violation.
So in other words, the local zoning enforcer that works half of the town is one person, can't just drive by and go, oh, tire.
He can, but
Never
given
seen him do
the,
that, right?
yeah, given the strap nature of our zoning enforcement office, that's where we rely on the
One time I've asked about that, that's what I'm told it has to be citizen complaint driven.
Yes.
And now we have new rules, which I can show you on my phone, where it says, if you see something, say something. Well, now if you say something, they want you to fill out a formal complaint, and then they tell the clerk who complained. I don't want my house burned down. I ain't saying nothing.
Chicken, that's a complaint you can bring up to zoning enforcement.
Yeah, the system sucks, by the way.
You should talk to your, city council person about
I just talked to them.
And county commissioners in the joint office.
And I think you can talk to your community police officer too, and that would keep you anonymous.
Well, actually, I was talking to the district attorney.
I think there's ways you can get around
So bring it back to the case.
I just asked him.
Okay, that's nice, we gotta
That's
keep rolling.
true.
So overall, given those things, staff is recommending approval in this case, subject to those conditions that I kind of outlined. The conditional use will only go as long as it is used as vehicle repair, no storage of outdoor vehicles, as I mentioned. The display vehicles will be limited to 5 stalls on the front hillside, as well as meeting the parking requirement. And there's several others that are kind of just general things about operating within the company license and stuff like that. So if you have any questions, I can answer those questions at this time.
Mr. Ferris, do you want to say anything about the business going in there and the intent?
Actually, he's already there. It's the company, it's the business that's there now. It's been there for a very long time operating. When you look at the zoning map, it's kind of silly for some reason. There's like a 20-foot strip along the front that's zoned general office and everything else.
At one point in time, they used to do like buffer zoning, where it's like, oh, we'll put limited commercial on the rear of the property, but the front part of the property is general office to avoid uses creeping towards the street, but this is kind of thing like that.
So, I guess my question is anything going to change from what's?
Well, he'll be allowed to sell cars there. He actually has a license. He had it through a different address. He would like to have his address be here. He may never sell more than 1 or 2 cars. He just wants the ability to do that. And we've limited it to 5, so I mean, that's about the most I've ever done.
The one north property is also changed.
Okay, so there is one.
Yeah, that property
to sell on that
I
strip.
do have one question. If right across the street,
Maybe
roughly,
that's right there.
what Mr. Dowell is doing would not be allowed on this property.
I don't know who Mr. Dowell is or what's across the street.
Now, it's basically an old service station. It's overrun with inoperative vehicles or vehicles waiting for repairs. When the property is packed with vehicles. That would not, what he's doing would not be allowed here.
Correct.
Interesting.
So by putting a conditional use on it, you're actually restricting more than the light commercial zone.
But with it being an old service station, it already has allowed by right, so.
Are you talking about
Allowed
this?
to do, you're, an LC zoning, you're allowed to do vehicle repair. So any vehicle repair is allowed in LC, but by allowing the conditional use, you're putting additional restrictions to allow that, and we've accepted those.
Are you talking about the just north of there, like Ross Parkway?
I think it's south of, well, no, that's an old service station across Parkway,
It looks
hillside
like-
on the southeast.
yeah.
corner.
Hillside and 31st, ain't it?
I'm
It's-
talking on the
packed.
west side of Hillside, south of Joyland.
Yes.
It's an old 2-bay service station, small property, just loaded with vehicles.
Yeah, it's back.
Any questions from the district advisory board?
Ain't nobody gonna believe this, but I'm gonna just approve the
Well, let's
recommendation.
make sure that the public.
Second that.
Any questions from the public?
Is this a dealership, an auto dealership?
You started it.
He's just a vehicle repair shop, that if you fix the car, rather than pick it up, or something you want to write to sell.
So the main business is not even, because we were trying to.
Yeah, the main business, vehicle repair.
And if that vehicle repair goes away according to conditional use, it will go back to conditional use.
Well, I would propose that if he wants to get a dealer's license there, he's gonna have to get a bond, which costs money. He's gonna have to get a dealer's license, which costs money. He's gonna have to sell more than 2 or 3 vehicles just to pay the cost of being in business.
So Phil, you're recommending this, your vision or making this also. It has been the opinion of the planning commission to allow vehicle repair shops to have the ability to sell vehicles. And so that's been kind of in the process. And there's only that similar establishment in the area. Thank you.
There is.
I so moved.
That's not very good. I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second on the floor for approval. Any further discussion?
Keep your street light on.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstain.
Abstention? Motion carries.
Guys,
That's.
thank you very much. Well, don't take us out on me next time I come, just because.
I thought he would pretty easy.
I just have to be contrary with you, you know.
That's had a conscience.
Are you happy?
Sure.
Yes, we will. We got a public agenda. Looks like we,
Lost the public.
Got a hand over here.
Okay, fine, thank you.
no off agenda items.
Wait a minute. Where do I call it in?
You will follow the board agenda.
You're on.
Next, for the board agenda, we will start with, okay, Michael.
Real quick, I would like to know more about what's going on with Pratt Park. I understand around the middle of May, there are some diagrams, pictures, some things that were presented. I think it'd be nice if those things were given to people on your dashboard that are.
We have a plan to do a presentation for the supervisory board. What came out of that committee? Next month or the month after, so you will get those. There's no action that's been taken by the city council that will cause anything to happen right now. The next thing that needs to happen is an actual master plan needs to be done based on what the committee came back with. And for that to happen, there will be some more public input and another public hearing, but we'll get you the results from the committee so you guys can see what the committee came up with officially and what the city council saw. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, on my street, in our local homeowner association, we had a personal contact, my wife, because she's secretary of the homeowner association, that they were having problems with toilets that wouldn't shut off and this and that, even with new valves and stuff. And call the plumber out, and the plumber says, and I think these numbers are arbitrary, I'm not sure exactly what they're. Says, you know, the water pressure to your house is supposed to be somewhere around 50 psi. There's a 90. And didn't seem like there was any resolution to this issue available today. Now he's spent over $500 to have a water pressure regulator put on the city water line to his house. And he was kind of concerned maybe this had something to do with some reaction to all this flooding and yada, yada, yada. I don't know. You know, he may be. I haven't noticed it at my house, shall we say, yet. I'm on the same one.
Encourage anybody, before they do any work like that they call the city and let the city come test. And the city,
Didn't seem like they're interested in doing that according to him.
if that is requested, they can get that.
I'll look into it.
And if they say no, you can help them.
I'll look at it. I'll let Maddie know.
That's it.
So if I hear you right, Paul, your neighbors complain because their city water pressure is too high?
Yes.
You realize that that's 99% of the city wants higher water pressure.
I'm not arguing with you on that.
Hello?
Well, the problem is, it led to problems and costs.
The stuff you buy to fix your plumbing is perfectly capable of handling those pressures.
Yeah.
Okay,
I promise you.
any further?
I'd make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Our Wichita PD is gonna be here next month.
I believe so.
Is it, practice for, say that a vehicle was hit that was on the street and is now crossing someone else's driveway and the sidewalk? Is it, the police don't respond on their own? They have to be, there has to be a complaint against it?
How long was there an accident before?
Well, if there was a call on 911 or something.
That's just it. The people's truck that was hit lived right next door. And I've tried to catch her 2 or 3 times to find out if this is the way that they park the vehicle. So you can clearly see that.
Came over and party.
Yeah. And it's them.
Yeah. The only way the police will respond if a complaint is made, a call is made in 911 or a call on and request something to come, and then they can investigate.
And that won't even tell them the law.
Hey, James. Would they even know that?
at the breakfast,
Yeah.
you give a little speech about Kellogg.
Yeah.
You need to tell these people because they weren't there.
I like
Do
it.
you remember what you said at the end of this deal? Kellogg is done.
No,
Well,
Kellogg's
that's-
never been done.
So
No.
Kellogg will be done. We have no further plans. Once this section of Kellogg's is done, no further plans. In my opinion, based on conversations I've had with other council members, I think it would be more desirable to have some of the other cities that are going to benefit
Amen.
from it, like, so if we go closer to Andover now, Andover, that becomes more of a benefit to Andover.
Absolutely.
If we go closer to Goddard, that becomes what, so we're interested now in stopping. And if Andover or Goddard were interested in partnering with us, I bet we might be able to have a discussion. But right now, we are done with Kellogg. There are no further plans.
I have said many times, and I'm ready to speak to you, I've been here since 1954, Kellogg has never been done. I know you're right.
Well, there's always gonna be ongoing maintenance. I mean,
The maintenance is one thing.
the downtown flyover was done 20 years ago. So there's gonna be maintenance, but, so we do have a motion.
Yeah.
And a second to adjourn.
So the state and the Turnpike Authority are
Yeah.
okay with no entrance ramp from incoming eastbound Kellogg to get on the Turnpike. You're all okay with that big loop down by Rock Road and back? There's not gonna be any ramp built for that? What's going on?
You will be able to get on, depending on, you will still be able to get on going both directions on the Turnpike. The entrance is just gonna be in a different place.
It's gonna be on using the 96?
Yeah, they're changing all of that at 96. There's gonna be an entrance over there.
So you'll be doing the Rock Road loop-de-loop then when we're done?
Drive down the Turnpike and look,
I did not know that.
and you'll think you're in another city because it doesn't look, when I went by it, I'm going,
I don't know what, yeah, I've done the same thing.
You'll understand when it's done.
Where is this road going?
All those in favor of closing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. I gotta go get my daughter for walking.